Albuquerque woke under a cold wind that skimmed the rooftops and bent the shadows along the narrow lanes of Old Town. At 7 a.m., while the city was still rubbing its eyes, Claire Valdez slipped through the iron gate of Sunset Memorial Park. The red thread on her wrist, a summer gift from her son, to remind you to breathe, Mama, tapped her watch each time she quickened her step beneath the cypresses. Daniel's marble lay near a quiet fig tree. Claire always brought the same things: a small bundle of lavender, an envelope with letters she would never mail, and a paper bag to carry away any leaf that dared fall across her son's name. Sometimes she spoke. Sometimes she simply stayed. That morning, before she could say, "Good morning, my love," she heard soft voices where no one usually came. A few yards away, a young woman, brown hair pinned any which way, a cream scarf at her neck, was crying near a neighboring headstone. Beside her, a girl of about 6 held a bouquet of daisies and looked at the names with the solemnity of someone who intuits she's in front of something she cannot explain. The woman's hands trembled. The child's hand found hers by instinct. Claire tried to fold into herself, hoping they would leave. Then the girl, with a gentle Castilian lilt, whispered, "Mamá, le dejo aquí o se lo doy en la mano." The woman breathed in and, still crying, answered, "Aquí, cariño." "Dale las gracias y pida perdón." A chill started at Claire's back and settled at her nape. Thank who? Ask forgiveness from whom? Her first impulse was to protect the small territory of memory she guarded like a disciplined sentry. She stepped 2 paces forward, enough to see what the girl carried with the daisies: an origami bird folded from childish graph paper, where shaky letters read, Paradani. That nickname, written exactly that way, had been theirs alone. Claire straightened. Her heart thumped twice in her ears, as if it wanted to speak before her mouth did. "Excuse me, are you looking for someone?" Her voice came out steadier than she felt. The woman startled, large dark eyes, mascara blurred, a winter-beautiful exhaustion to her face. "Perdón," she said in rushed Spanish. "No queríamos molestar. Íbamos. Ya nos vamos." The girl didn't move. Instead, she leaned toward Daniel's stone with a sweet conviction. "Gracias, Danny," she murmured, setting the origami beside the vase. "Por la música." Claire nearly reached to snatch the paper away. "Por la música." The words slid open a drawer she kept sealed. Daniel, 7, on a toy piano, feet swinging from the bench. Daniel, 14, building a track on his laptop that insisted on soft hand claps, sprinting down the hall to show her. Daniel, 22, on his way to a rehearsal that never happened. "How did you know my son?" The question leapt out unfiltered. "Who gave you permission to leave that?" The woman squeezed the child's hand. "I'm Marta," she managed, her voice breaking. "This is Lucia. We're here for him. Please, only today." Claire glanced at the bird, then at the girl. Lucia wore a clear circular patch over her left clavicle, the kind that hides a small secret under the skin. On her right wrist, an elastic bracelet with blue beads, worn from being fidgeted with, the sort of talisman children touch when they need courage. There was a calm in the way she looked at the letters, Danny, as if recognizing a friend who existed only in whispers. "This isn't a place for play," Claire said, trying to keep control, her voice dry. "Danny is not a character strangers cry over." Marta drew a deeper breath, like a diver gathering air. "I know who he is, ma'am. That's why we're here. We didn't want to frighten you. If you give me 1 minute, I can explain." Claire hesitated. Instinct said, "Leave. Keep the routine." keep the world outside. But something else, an invisible thread, pulled her forward. The trees clicked in the wind. Somewhere, a tiny bell struck a single note. Claire adjusted the red string and repeated the line Daniel used whenever she froze before a big meeting. "Breathe, Mama." "1 minute," she conceded, "and then you go." Marta nodded. She knelt to wipe Lucia's tears with her thumb. The girl rested her ear against her mother's chest for a beat, as if to borrow rhythm. "Hace 2 años, in Santa Fe, I was working at a cafe," Marta began, weighing every word. "Shifts were crazy. In that time, something happened that changed our lives. Lucia got very sick, and the doctor said, 'Only a miracle.'" Claire folded her arms, the stance that had carried her through the toughest negotiations in hospitality. "What does that have to do with my son?" Lucia lifted her face, asking permission with her eyes. "Mamá, ¿puedo?" she whispered. "Sí, cariño," Marta said, her hand resting reflexively over the bandage. Lucia took 2 long steps for her size and stopped in front of Claire. Her gaze was clear, the kind that passes through you without harm. "La canción de palmas," she said softly, as if sharing a precious secret. "Sometimes I hear it here." She tapped her chest with her fingertips. "Like someone plays it so I won't be afraid." Claire lost her breath for a second. The clap song. The last piece Daniel composed, the one she kept in a blue folder on his laptop, afraid she might one day forget it. On sleepless nights, she hit play and let its cadence drum with her heart, like a restart. Coincidence, she tried to tell herself. Brains build bridges where none exist. But the buried question forced her tongue forward. What exactly happened to Lucia? Marta met her eyes. No malice there, just the raw honesty of someone who'd walked through fire and lost the fear of looking foolish. It was a transplant, a call in the middle of the night. News nobody wishes for, and yet the only thing that could save her. We spent 3 days between praying and pleading, and it worked. The world shrank to the plastic circle on the child's chest. Claire wasn't sure her voice would come, but it did. "When?" "October 12th, Marta answered, the date arriving as easily as a child's name. 2 years ago. Claire didn't need a calendar. The same night. She remembered the frozen clocks in the ICU, the hiss of ventilators, the shaking signature on the donation consent. Daniel's hand she tried to warm as if begging it not to cool. Her stomach knotted so hard it hurt. Lucia opened her backpack and took out a small notebook peppered with star stickers. Between folded paper there was a toy stethoscope. "Quería decirle gracias, señora," she said, holding the toy as if it were real. "Porque ahora puedo correr y bailar, y no me canso tan rápido. The music I hear gives me courage." Marta stepped in, building a careful bridge. "We didn't come to ask for anything, truly. I just didn't know how to say thank you without intruding. We spent weeks debating whether to come, but Lucia insisted. She wanted to bring the bird and the daisies. She says when she dances, the bird opens its wings." Claire looked at the fig tree, the marble, her son's name carved in gold. The air felt denser, like the entire cemetery was holding its breath with her. For 2 years she had organized pain, schedules, lists, emails, anything not to collapse. But before this girl, touching her chest and speaking of music and courage, the drawers slid open by themselves. She wanted to say a million things and none lined up. Instead, something unplanned happened. She sat on the stone step of the headstone and pulled from her coat the day's letter. The paper trembled. I was writing to tell him that—" Her voice faltered. She cleared her throat. "That sometimes I don't know how to go on. And when I forget to breathe, I touch the bracelet to remember." She lifted her wrist, the red thread catching the cold morning light. "He gave me this." Lucia leaned closer, eyes lit with the quiet joy of a child who understands without words. "Es bonito," she said. "Puedo tocar?" Claire offered her wrist. The girl touched the thread the way one touches a small bell. And then, backlit by a timid sun, a sound rose far off, hands clapping spaced, as if someone somewhere were testing a rhythm. Maybe a worker moving boards. Maybe nothing. But the three stood still, listening to something only that morning could explain. "There's something I need to do," Claire said suddenly, like someone waking mid-dream. She stood with a decisiveness she recognized in herself, the gesture she used when taking the lead. "Could you come back tomorrow? 9 a.m.? I want to—" She searched for a word that wouldn't bruise. "Talk. And listen to the music with you." Marta looked surprised. "If you're sure." She looked to her daughter, the only vote that mattered. Lucia, with a contained smile, nodded. Claire centered the origami bird in the vase and adjusted the daisies, as if inaugurating an altar. She didn't know where this would lead, but for the first time in a long while, she felt the air fill her lungs completely. The wind carried a scent of lavender, and she thought maybe Daniel was, in some way, nudging her forward with patient claps. As they parted, Lucia glanced back one last time. "Hasta mañana, Señora Claire." "Hasta mañana, Lucia," Claire answered, feeling her own name regain sound. At the gate, Marta paused, as if one more wait needed speaking. "Thank you for not sending us away. Sometimes what heals is just staying." Claire watched them disappear down the lane. Only then did she realize she hadn't cried, and that the minute she'd granted had become an invitation to something she could not control. A bell, somewhere, repeated its note. Claire did not yet imagine that the secret binding their three lives was bigger and older than a transplant, and that to hear the whole song, she would have to open a box she'd kept shut since the night of the accident. The elevator of the Valdez Grand on Central rose in quiet as Claire caught her reflection. Hair pinned in a way Daniel hated. Too severe, Mama. She loosened 2 strands, the minimum her executive self could tolerate. On the 12th floor, the panoramic room caught a pale fall light. Andrew, her partner, waited with stacks of reports and the smile of a man who counts other people's time like coins. "Finally," he said, flicking his microprint tie. "The French group's inspection is today. We need the old Claire." She smiled politely. The old Claire didn't know the word grief, Andrew. He pretended not to hear. "Cancellations in the Granada room. The Vidal wedding is jumping from 200 to 300 guests, and the kitchen says you shifted the roster last minute. Ah, and your assistant said you're stepping out at 9. Want to tell me why?" Arms crossed, posture that dissolved arguments. "Because at 9, I have an appointment with the only thing that reminds me why I do any of this. If I can't take care of that, you can lead the French meeting." He studied her like checking for hairline cracks. "You're different. Careful, Claire. Fragility doesn't close deals." She gathered the reports, ended with a "thanks, Andrew," and left before he could pin on another badge of guilt. Crossing the corridor, Paula, the events manager, hurried up, clipboard to her chest. "Sorry, quick one. Maintenance says the small ballroom speakers are clapping, like a built-in echo. Did you change anything?" Claire stopped. "Clapping? Yeah, a little rhythm of hand taps." "He thinks it's residue from a file someone loaded last week. The one you brought on a thumb drive from the—" Paula swallowed the word and softened. From your son. Want us to kill the system? A shiver. Daniel's music seemed to be leaking through the seams of reality. Don't shut it off. Sometimes what echoes helps you find the right volume, she said, cryptic even to herself. I'll check after 10. At 5 to 9, she parked by the iron gate. The air bit at ears. The sky was a porcelain lid. Marta and Lucia were already there, sharing a small thermos of hot chocolate, its steam rising like a shy balloon. Lucia ran 2 steps when she saw Claire, then slowed, mindful of the place. Buenos dias, the girl said, flashing a contained grin. Good morning, Lucia, Claire answered, warmth she didn't have to manufacture. Marta held a canvas bag. We brought Santa Fe empanadas. It's like a hug you eat, she tried to joke, awkward. And, if it's not too much, I wanted to show you something. Claire nodded. They sat on the stone bench facing Daniel's name. Claire took a small speaker and a black thumb drive from her bag. I promised we'd listen together. She connected, breathed, and the music began. 2 claps, silence, 2 claps, silence. A pulse Daniel had polished for weeks. He wanted it to sound like footsteps of someone coming home. Lucia closed her eyes and, naturally, placed her hand over her chest, as she had the day before. Marta's finger rested on the bandage by reflex. The wind softened, as if the tree leaned to hear. After a few seconds, Marta pulled an envelope with University of New Mexico hospital seals from her bag. This came a year ago, she said, offering it carefully. It's the anonymous letter program between donor families and recipients. I wrote 3 times and never found the courage to send. The last one after Lucia danced without getting tired. She smiled, fragile. I don't want you to think we're chasing you for curiosity. It's gratitude. That's all. Claire traced the paper's edge. Inside, neat handwriting corrected its own accents. Dear family of our angel, I don't know if it's fair to write, but with every beat in my daughter's chest, I give thanks. Some days I hear music where before there was only noise. She couldn't read more aloud. She tucked it back, closed her eyes a second. Breathe, Mama. Thank you for writing, she said, returning it. I never replied to the program. I didn't know how to begin speaking about someone who was the whole house. Lucia pointed to the origami bird still resting in the vase. Podemos hacer otro? She asked. To take home, in case I forget to breathe. Claire glanced at the red thread. I'll teach you. She pulled a sheet from that morning's unsent letter. She began to fold slowly, muscle memory finding the crease. Daniel taught me this bird one summer in Santa Fe. She paused. You're from there, aren't you? Marta nodded, surprised. Yes. I worked at a cafe off the plaza, near the College of Art. My life fit on a tray of croissants and unpaid bills. She took a breath. Truth is, I think I met your son before, long before the transplant. Claire's stomach flipped, delicate and terrified. What do you mean? Marta unlocked her phone, hands shaking from more than cold, and found a folder. Old summer. An image aged by afternoon light. A small plaza, a yellow day, a young man on a cajon, smiling toward a child in a stroller. Messy curls, shy dimples, a red thread on his left wrist. He played with a group of students on Saturdays, June 2019. Lucia was 2. Every time those kids clapped, she stopped crying. Marta smiled. Half-washed mascara gave way. I'd run from the espresso machine to the sidewalk so she could listen. And she bit her lip, choosing the word, noticed. He made a song of claps, simple, like gentle footsteps. He said, "Para la peque que no tiene miedo cuando el mundo bate palmas." Claire swallowed hard. Daniel spent a summer in Santa Fe with a film professor. I didn't know about this plaza. Marta zoomed. In the background, a student festival flyer, a used book stall, a wall calendar. He didn't talk much, but he watched everything. One day he left a note on the counter, treble clef and a music profile number. I didn't see it in time. When I looked, it was gone. Lucia, hungry for connection, tilted her face. "Yo estaba ahí, mamá?" "Estabas." Marta kissed her forehead. "You fell asleep on my shoulder when the music ended." Claire started the speaker again. Daniel's claps filled the small space of stone and name. Lucia, naturally, began to mark time with her sneaker toe, as if her body recognized old instructions. Marta watched like someone seeing a photograph turn into a movie. Claire, between one origami fold and the next, tried to piece it together. Santa Fe, the plaza, Daniel, a toddler in a stroller, then Albuquerque, the hospital night, the phone call, the donation, Lucia with a bandage at her collarbone. The thread had been cast before the tragedy. "I want to show you something," Claire said abruptly. "At 11, I have to be at the hotel. But at noon, if you can, come with me." She hesitated, an invitation gently given. "I want to open Daniel's studio. Maybe we'll find more music." Marta glanced at Lucia. "Dance class at 2. We have time." "Dance?" Claire smiled without realizing. "She says she'll be a doctor in the morning and a ballerina in the afternoon." Marta laughed, guilt hitching the joy. Since the transplant, her body asks to move. Her teacher, Ms. Pilar, says she hears from the inside. Claire left them at the gate with a cautious hug and flew back to the hotel. In the elevator, Andrew's text buzzed. French moved to 11:05. "Need you," she replied. "Start without me. I'm in at 11:20. And forwarded a voice note to Paula. "If you hear any clapping in the system, don't shut it off. Record it." The meeting had started when she slipped in, 20 minutes late. Honest apologies, half-truth. The French exec stared at Central Avenue with polite boredom. On the plasma screen, the promo video played safe strings. Then, 2 claps. Silence, 2 claps. Claire closed her eyes. A salute. "Pardon," one Frenchman frowned. "Said, clapping?" "Glitch," Andrew rushed, waving the tech. "Cut it, please." Claire lifted a hand. "Leave it," she said, sweetness that left no path for objection. Sometimes the unexpected is what makes a guest remember us. Oddly, the room softened. Afterward, the eldest Frenchman shook her hand. The sound, curious, like footsteps, nostalgic. He smiled, rare. Sometimes that's what we buy, memory. Claire drove straight to the building where, upstairs, she kept Daniel's studio closed like a child's room preserved. She'd promised herself she'd open it only when she knew what to do. At the door, the key turned with a shy click. The smell, wood, cable dust, and the cheap citrus cologne Daniel used to clear his head, met her like an old friend. The laptop sat center table, treble clef sticker on its lid. Claire breathed in, powered it, and typed the password he had chosen, Respira. The desktop bloomed with project windows, folders named for work and play. Cajon rehearsals, Palmas, Santa Fe summer, for Mom. A small tremor crawled her spine. She opened Santa Fe summer. Subfolders by month, June, July, August, and phone clips. The plaza, shadowed sidewalk, kids laughing at dogs. In one, Claps guided a baby in a stroller to pat her hands a beat late, like learning a new language. Claire froze the frame, zoomed in. The child had a crooked fringe and a bib with blue stars. The stroller leaned against a cafe door. In the glass, Marta passed with a tray. Claire's throat tightened. Inside, Palmas, file names came like tiny poems. Steps that return one. Run without getting tired. Brave little one, draft. At the end, one named like a whisper, Lucia, Palmas final. Dated 07/15/2019. She didn't hit play. New microcycles. Problem. If she played it, the ancient thread would be real, and the things she'd avoided seeing would stand before her. Solution. Hearing might light the way, give pain a shape. New problem. What if it changed how she remembered her son? Her phone buzzed. Paula. Boss, sorry. Remember I set the recorder? You won't believe it. In the small ballroom, the Claps hit the system at the exact second half the block lost power. The generator caught it. No one noticed. But a guest wrote, I loved that the hotel had a sound that calmed me when things failed. Claire smiled with her eyes, a smile that didn't hurt. Save that comment. And thanks for believing what we can't explain. She hung up and looked again at Lucia, Palmas final. Finger on the touchpad, pause, breathe, play, 2 claps, silence, 2 claps, a soft whistle like wind at a window. Then Daniel's voice, unpretending, clear, intimate. For little Lucia, who dances afraid and dances anyway. If you ever hear this in your chest, it's because the world still beats with you. Claire covered her mouth. Tears, the ones that wouldn't come yesterday, broke through, not as raw hurt, but as recognition. The track unfolded in simple variations, a game between sound and quiet inviting the body to follow. At the end, another line, almost laughing. Mom, remember to breathe. Phone again. Marta. We're downstairs. Come up. Come, Claire replied, voice still on a good sob. When Marta and Lucia entered, the room seemed to contract and expand at once. Lucia went straight to the cajon and patted it open-palmed, gently, like saying hello to a wooden friend. Marta stopped by the desk, saw the folder, and pressed her hand to her mouth. My God, he already knew her name, Claire said, the words like a beautiful fright. I never told, Marta whispered. No one in Albuquerque knew her name. She looked at her child, then the screen. He must have heard someone call me that day, and kept it. Some people keep the right things. Claire pressed play again. Let the claps fill the studio. Lucia answered them with her feet, then shoulders, then a small turn. No fatigue. Marta watched with wet eyes that didn't apologize. Claire rested her forehead against the window frame and understood the sound as a bridge Daniel had laid before the cliff existed. I want to propose something, she said when the music ended. Saturday we have a children's event in the lobby, our little library. I usually avoid it. She smiled at the irony. I want to go. And, if you'll say yes, I want Lucia to open it with this rhythm. No mention of transplants, just courage. Marta swallowed a laugh tear. She'll want to. She's always wanted to show up without fear. Lucia, catching only show up, raised her hand like school. Puedo llevar mi pulsera azul? You must, Claire said, and I'll wear my red. They laughed, lightness sliding under the door. Sun hit the monitor's edge and lit the treble clef sticker. As Claire reached for a cable to copy the files, she noticed a hidden folder, icon grayed out, a half sentence for a name. Open only if... Her heart jumped. She clicked. Inside, a single video dated the night of the accident. Her hand trembled on the mouse. Problem: if she played it now, it could tear down the fragile balance. Solution: wait until after Saturday, after the girl danced and things found a place. New problem: what if it held the missing piece? Why Daniel was on that road, whom he was meeting, what he needed to say. She looked at Marta and Lucia, oblivious, practicing claps over the cajon, giggling into the right tempo. Claire closed the folder. For now. "Let's eat," she said, feigning normal. "You promised empanadas, and I've got a whole city to restart with you." They descended. As she locked the studio, a neighbor stepped from the hall. Jean, the building's retired super, with a toolbox and a memory. "Ms. Valdez?" Thick New Mexico accent. "Your boy, the musician. Before the accident, he asked me for a new tenant's number. Said he needed to return an envelope that wasn't his. I told him to coordinate with the front desk. After that, he lifted his shoulders, apologizing to fate. If I remember the name, I'll let you know." Claire felt the elevator arrive inside her. An envelope that wasn't his. A new tenant. An old clue waving from the other side of memory. The doors opened with a metallic sigh. Lucia hopped in. 1, 2, 3 steps to invisible claps. Marta thanked Jean with a tired smile. Claire lingered 1 second longer, looking at the studio door, at the hidden folder, at the thread stitching Santa Fe, Albuquerque, a cafe, a plaza, a hospital, a hotel, and an envelope that needed returning. Inside, the floor indicator blinked lobby, and the light flickered like learning to clap. Claire did not know the envelope Daniel tried to return carried a name carved across both families, and that someone, afraid of what might surface, preferred that music never be played in public. Saturday broke under glass blue sky, cold and excessively bright. Claire woke before her alarm, her body split between the habit of schedules and a new impulse to wait for something she couldn't control. On the console, the red bracelet rested beside a photo of Daniel as a gap-toothed kid. She traced the frame. "You'll like the sound today, son," she whispered. In the Valdez Grand Lobby, volunteers built reading tables and bright poofs. A sign read, "Small Hands, Big Stories." The name came from an old campaign. Now it felt prophetic. Claire, beige suit and attentive eyes, tuned details. Natural light, speakers balanced. The tech team with Daniel's file queued for 10 o'clock. When Marta and Lucia arrived, the room changed density. The girl wore sky blue matching bracelet and held a small craft-wrapped box. Marta, in a yellow scarf, carried nerves disguised as sweetness. "Are you ready, ballerina?" Claire knelt to the girl's height. "Lista?" Lucia grinned, her invented Portuguese swapping T for S, pulling laughs from everyone. While microphones were checked, Jean, the super, walked in carrying an old envelope. He approached carefully. "Ms. Valdez, found what I mentioned. Basement archives, returned mail." He offered it. "Recognize this?" Claire held the yellowed paper. Corner sender, Daniel Valdez. Handwritten addressee, M. Salazar, Santa Fe. Her heart stalled. M. Salazar. Marta Salazar. "May I?" she asked, voice husky. "It's yours, Ms. Valdez." It bounced back, Jean said, retreating before she opened it. Inside, a single page. "Marta, I don't know if I should write. The music I made for your daughter made me think about everything I haven't been brave enough to say. I go back to Albuquerque tomorrow, but I'm leaving a thank you here. If you ever need me, ask for the hotel. D." Claire read in silence. His handwriting, his tone, simple, intimate. Daniel had known Marta before the accident. Maybe he'd promised to deliver something and ran out of time. She breathed, tucked the letter away before Marta could notice. It wasn't the hour to break the calm before the dance. At exactly 10, the clap rhythm floated through the lobby. Children hushed. Lucia stepped up barefoot to the small riser and began to mark the beat. 2 claps, silence. 2 claps, turn. Her body seemed to translate the music without effort, like it remembered every pulse. Marta cried quietly. Claire watched, hands joined at her chest, as if witnessing a resurrection. When the theme ended, Lucia opened her hands to the crowd. "Gracias, Danny," she said clearly, "por enseñarme a no tener miedo." Applause. Standing. The echo hit the columns and returned heavy with gratitude. Claire closed her eyes and let the sound pass through. Amid the clapping, a different sound. The ping of a dropped glass. A tall man with gray beard, rumpled suit, stood at the door. He stared at Marta and the child. When his eyes met Claire's, something like recognition crossed the room. He approached, step slow. "Claire Valdez?" "Yes." "Do we know each other?" "Miguel Salazar." He extended a hand. "Lucia's father." Claire froze. Marta went pale. Silence settled, the kind that belongs to secrets kept too long. "Miguel," Marta began, but he cut in, voice thick. "I thought I'd never see you again. And now I learn my daughter dances. To a song by the man you never told me about." Lucia, confused, looked from adult to adult. "Papa," she whispered. Understanding struck Claire like light and vertigo. Daniel and Marta had known each other. Miguel, the girl's father, was the new tenant Daniel had tried to find the night of the accident. The returned envelope was the missing link. "Mr. Salazar," Claire managed, "there's something you need to hear." She asked the tech to replay Daniel's track, "For Little Lucia," and handed Miguel the envelope. He read slowly, hands shaking. Marta watched in silence, tears bare. "He wrote this to me," he murmured. "I never received it." Miguel slipped the page into his pocket. Then it was him. He looked at Claire. "Your son saved my daughter. And maybe," Claire said softly, "saved mine too." The audience, unaware of the word's weight, kept smiling, taking pictures of the dancing girl. Lucia, innocent to the storm, took her mother's hand with one and Claire's with the other, joining them. "Bailamos las tres?" she giggled. And they did. 3 women, 3 pulses, red, blue, yellow, beating in a single rhythm, as if time relearned to breathe. Up above, the lobby lights caught the bracelets, and for a moment it felt like Daniel stood there between claps and breeze, unhurried, smiling. But as everything seemed to find rest, Jean rushed back, winded, with a fresh envelope, unmarked, found that morning in the building's mailbox. He handed it to Claire. "No return address, just your floor number." Claire opened it. Inside, a single printed line, "The music isn't yours. Leave it in silence, before someone makes it disappear." She looked up, paper trembling. Across the room, Miguel was speaking with a dark-suited man Claire had never seen. For the first time, pain gave way to fear. The note lay on Claire's glass-topped desk, like a presence that didn't blink. "The music isn't yours. Leave it in silence." The sentence rang like a threat wearing echo as disguise. Since the event, the hotel stayed bright, but a new cold moved in, the kind that comes from inside walls. Outside, Albuquerque breathed a tired Sunday sun. Inside, worry moved like tide. Daniel's claps had left the file, lived, and now someone wanted to return them to silence. Who stood to gain from muting a song of hands? Before opening hours, Claire went down to the hotel basement, where old sound gear slept. Yellow light flickered. Damp wood smelled like the studio. Amid coils and amps, she found Paula checking inventory. "Boss, you're early. Everything okay? I need to know if anyone accessed our audio system after the event." Claire slid the note across. "This showed up in my mailbox." Paula frowned. "Just me and the tech. But last night, a man asked for the music file. Said he was with the hotel's cultural committee, needed the tracks. Name? Salazar. Miguel Salazar." Blood drained from Claire's face. "And you gave it to him?" "Only a copy, on the thumb drive he brought. I thought it was cleared." Claire closed her eyes a beat. Miguel, the father of the child Daniel had saved, now a man who might want the sound hidden. She hurried upstairs and called Marta. "Are you home?" "Yes. Lucia's drawing. What's wrong?" "I need you at the hotel. Now." In the lobby cafe, the air smelled like cinnamon and nerves. Marta arrived, hair pulled back, no makeup, face set. "Claire, what happened?" "Miguel was here yesterday. He asked for the file, and after that I got this." She slid the note over. "Do you recognize it?" Marta read, went pale. "God. He promised he wouldn't get involved." "Involved in what?" Marta hesitated. "Miguel was a music producer before moving into architecture. He lost everything over rights, lawsuits, shady deals. When Daniel recorded the clap song, Miguel may have recognized something he'd heard back in Santa Fe. Maybe he reached out," Claire finished. "Cool. And Daniel tried to return something that wasn't his. The envelope." Marta nodded, tears held in. "It was an old chart. Miguel claimed it belonged to a student of his who disappeared. Daniel must have realized the melody felt close. He wanted to return it before being accused of stealing." "So that's why he was on that road?" Claire asked. "Yes. Miguel told me after the accident. Daniel called the night before, set a meeting to clear it up. Miguel didn't show." A curtain of silence fell. They faced each other with the certainty that the music linking the children came from a deeper and more dangerous place. Lucia ran in from the lobby, holding a napkin covered in colored hands. "Hi, Sparadani!" she beamed. "Claps that never get tired." Claire knelt and hugged her. "I promise no one will erase the music, mi amor. No one." When she stood, she saw through the glass Miguel entering the lobby with the same dark-suited man from the event. "Claire, please," Miguel began. "We need to talk." "We're already talking." The man spoke first. "Dominguez, counsel for the Artea Group, rights holder of a composition titled Pasos del Alma." He opened a leather portfolio. "We have reason to believe your recording uses segments of this work without authorization." "You're saying my son plagiarized?" Claire's calm was fierce. "No," Miguel broke in, voice frayed. "He made new what someone had already lost. But the group sees only contracts." Marta stood. "You promised, Miguel. You said you'd leave it buried." "I can't, Marta. The song is valuable. They threatened to go after the hospital for using the track at the event. I just wanted to fix it." "Fix?" Claire stepped closer, red thread catching the ceiling light. "You mean sell what's left of my son?" Miguel dropped his gaze. "I lost everything, Claire." "You don't know what it's like to watch your child survive and have no way to pay for school, for care." Marta cut in, tears and fury braided. "And you thought you could pay with someone else's soul?" Lucia watched, wide-eyed. "Papa, no vendas las palmas, son de Dani." The lawyer cleared his throat. "The work must be taken down, Ms. Valdez. If you continue to distribute it, we'll proceed." Claire walked to the counter, took the small speaker from the event, and set it on the table. "You want to silence it?" she asked. "Then listen to what you're trying to erase." She pressed play, the lobby filled with soft, human claps. Midway, another male voice surfaced, a muffled whisper, captured deep in the track. "Miguel, guarda eso para ella. Prometes?" The lawyer paled. Marta's hand flew to her mouth. Miguel staggered a step. "That wasn't in the original." "It is now," Claire said, steady. "And it stays. Proof that he trusted you, Miguel. That the music was a gift, not a product." Miguel began to cry, first silently, then in sobs that sounded like years breaking. "He forgave me before I failed," he said. "I destroyed that." Marta went to him and held him, no rancor. "The only way to fix it is to tell the truth." Claire turned to Dominguez. "If you want to sue, sue the wind. But this music won't disappear. Tomorrow it goes live, under Daniel's and Lucia's names." He hesitated. Something in her voice made every contract feel like wet paper. He closed the portfolio and backed away. Miguel followed, hands empty. When they were alone, Marta and Claire sank to the floor, spent. Lucia, not understanding it all, began to clap, slow, measured, trying to change the weather. "Así, Mama. Así, Claire." 2 claps. Pause. 2 claps. The room filled again, but now it belonged to them. "Maybe that's what Danny wanted," Claire said, "that we learn to breathe together." Marta smiled, tired, and hugged Lucia. "He gave us a song to heal fear, and fear no longer has a stage." Outside, Albuquerque's lights blinked on, one by one, as if the day were ending with invisible applause. Claire stood, went to the window, and drew a long breath. The city seemed to listen with her. When she powered down the speaker, she noticed something unsettling. The file had spawned a fresh version, auto-saved as Palmas Final 2, voice added. She hadn't edited anything. And for a heartbeat, she swore she heard inside the computer her son's voice, distant, dusty with static. "Mama, there's one more thing." The cursor blinked like an impatient heart. Fear returned, not of loss but of truth still hidden. She did not know a final fragment lay inside, a recording that would reveal who truly inspired the music and why Daniel never made it home that night. Night fell over Albuquerque with the kind of silence that comes only after a shock. The hotel slept, dark corridors, the far roll of suitcase wheels, the perfume of fresh lobby flowers. Claire sat alone in Daniel's studio. On screen, Palmas Final 2, voice added. She breathed, fear and longing, twins that fight and never part. This time she wouldn't run. She clicked. The claps entered as always, paired, measured, sure. After a few seconds, the beat shifted. Piano keys, then a young man's voice, older than in the previous take, gentle and distant, as if recorded in a room full of echo. "If you're listening, Mom, it's because I did what I had to do. The music was never mine. It was born in an instant between 2 people who recognized each other by sound, and I just helped carry it forward." Air caught in Claire's throat. The voice wasn't just a recording. It breathed, paused. It was Daniel speaking to her now. "The woman you met, Marta, was the first person who showed me how to compose for someone. I found her crying at the cafe, and her little girl wouldn't stop clapping. I made the song to calm the child, and without noticing, I healed a piece of myself." Miguel thought he could turn it into gold. I asked him to keep it for her. not sell it. The night of the accident, I went to return the chart and finish what I started. If he failed, forgive him. Fear gets loud when love is big. Claire's temples pulsed with her heart. Daniel had always been like this, too generous, trusting. She pressed a palm to the screen as if to reach through. If the girl dances and you breathe, then it worked. Let time handle the rest. The claps are just my way of saying I'm here. A soft whistle. Silence. She cried, not from pain, but relief. Absence ceased being a whole and became transformed presence. Daniel wasn't lost. He was spread out. The next day, the studio filled with people. Marta came with Lucia, cajon on her back and a small wooden box in her arms. Miguel arrived too, eyes hollowed, gaze humbled. I found this in the attic, he said, handing the box. It's the original chart. Daniel wrote your name, Marta. Said the music only made sense played by someone who understands the silence between the beats. Marta opened it. Inside, notebook pages with the melody sketched, pencil notes, light claps, pause, smile, and at the end, a line in Daniel's hand. When two aches find each other, a song is born. Lucia stared at the paper, moved. El sabía, Mama, she whispered. Claire placed a hand on the girl's shoulder. And now, it's yours. Days later, the Valdez Grand inaugurated a new room, the Daniel Valdez Salon, dedicated to renewal and art. At the entrance, a bronze plaque read, "Music heals only when it's shared." For the debut, Lucia stood on stage with her cajon. Marta joined on guitar. Claire in the audience held her heart with both hands. Lights dimmed. Silence. Then, two claps. Silence. Two claps. The entire crowd answered, a symphony of hands. At the back wall, light reflections drew the shadow of a young man smiling. Messy hair, loose posture. Claire recognized him without seeing clearly. Daniel. She didn't look away. She whispered, almost voiceless, "Thank you, my love." The air around her felt lighter, as if for 1 second, the world breathed with her. After the performance, Marta held Claire tight. "I never thought pain could become something this beautiful." "Pain doesn't vanish," Claire said, wiping tears. "We just learned to turn it into rhythm." Lucia ran to them with a new origami, this one folded from gold paper. For Danny, who now lives in the sound. Claire held the bird, smiled, and looked at the sky whitening behind the salon windows. Sun slipped in gently, catching the bracelets, the red on her wrist, the blue on Lucia's. For a moment, they looked like one line of color. Amid the soft roar of applause, a final echo drifted through the room. 3 claps, followed by the faintest whistle. Claire closed her eyes and let her heart answer in the same measure. She breathed, she smiled. Daniel was at peace, and so was she. This story reminds us that true energy comes from within, the kind that renews us every day. If this story touched your heart, check the pinned comment to discover products that inspire renewal and balance. Leave a like and subscribe to join us in our next story.